Hey guys, how you doing? Today I want to talk about diet, nutrition for CFS fibromyalgia recovery. People have asked about it. I've been meaning to talk about it for a while. I'm going to share my personal experience with it. I'm going to share my current opinion of it. And I'm going to share, based on my personal experience, how I think people go wrong focusing on it so much. So let me take you back to several years ago when I was getting worse and worse, month to month, year to year. I'd been going to doctors, not really getting any answers. So I started focusing on things that maybe I can control. And diet and exercise, everybody knows they're important for your health. So I was almost convinced that I can solve this problem just by changing my diet. And I spent a couple of years really focusing on diet, man, to the point where I had an Excel spreadsheet where I kept track of what I ate every day and the symptoms that day. And I just kept this journal and try to correlate diet to symptoms, da 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 da. And I found nothing. Zero correlation that I could really find. I ate this, I had symptoms, I ate that, I didn't have symptoms. Just nothing really made there was no picture that emerged, no correlation, nothing. But in the process, I got so obsessed with finding the right diet and eating just right and making sure I follow this diet very strictly so that my experiment is correct. And frankly, it did much more harm than good. Much more harm than good, because it just got me further into this concerned, obsessed, compulsive, driven state, which is exactly the root of my problems, really. So don't make that mistake. That's the first thing I want to say to you. Whatever you do about your diet, don't ignore the psychological aspects of it. They're very, very important. It's very easy to get into this state where you're hyper vigilant about your diet and making sure At one point, I was exploring gluten sensitivity. I was like, well, maybe I'm gluten sensitive, and I tried to eliminate all gluten. It made no difference, but in the process, I was like so vigilant. Is there gluten in that? And then gluten in this, gluten in that? Like, my family made fun of me, my friends made fun of me. At the time, I found it very upsetting, because they didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't understand why I was so driven, to eliminate gluten. They just thought, he's a hypochondriac, he's worried about gluten. And there were many other things like gluten, like nightshades was a thing. And in the course of a couple of years, I tried many different diets. I read a lot of stuff on diets. I read many of the online gurus that you find, whom I have come to realize I do not like these people. Some of them are well-meaning, but the effect they have on people is not good. Their opinions are far more certain than the nutrition science warrants. And another thing is, it's very hard to interpret nutrition research if you're not a specialist in that area. And even the scientists who work in the area, there's a lot of uncertainty. Anyone who understands the field will tell you that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's no diet that's good for everyone. And CFS fibromyalgia is not a dietary issue. It's a good idea to eat a healthy diet, whatever that means. We'll talk about it in a second. Just for general health, and I do it myself, and I'll talk in a sec about how I eat. But it's not going to make or break your recovery, I don't believe. So let's talk about diets for a second then. What have I tried? I was into the paleo diet for a while. I tried eliminating different things from my diet. The two that I mentioned are gluten. Another one is nightshades. At one point, my diet was so restricted because I thought, it could be this, and this, causing my symptoms. So I just got to eliminate all that, and then my symptoms will go away. And none of that happened. My symptoms did not go away. I started getting rashes and stuff. Just with such limited nutrition, you're gonna get stuff popping up. So I just started eating more or less normal again, and all of that went away. But in the process, like I said, I did some psychological damage to myself. I was into the paleo diet for a while, the ketogenic diet, low carb, this. Um, I would caution against any kind of extreme diets that are very restrictive in one way or another. Now, this field is very, people get very religious, very obsessive about their ways of eating, and sometimes they become, they start proselytizing. They start going out there and trying to convert you into their way of eating, and this is the way to eat, and blah, 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 blah. And it's not just one group that does it. There's a few groups that do that, that have different ideas about the right way to eat. And I would just caution against all of that. The only sort of general rules that I can say, everybody already knows. Don't eat junk food. Don't eat highly processed food. Don't eat all the stuff that comes in a box. Don't drink soda. You already know this stuff. Of course, it's delicious, it's tasty, and sometimes you can't resist, and I get that too, And maybe just for your mental well-being, it makes sense to allow it sometimes. You got to work that part out for yourself. But I don't have any big dietary secret that's going to help you. There isn't one. I'm sure there isn't one. If you have some obvious things that you react to, I'm talking about like allergies, I'm talking about allergies. These things, the reactions are pretty quick, immediate sometimes. And it's just obvious. No, this I should not be eating. It's like you have an allergy, The other thing is, if you happen to have like some rare disease like celiac disease, then you truly cannot eat gluten, because you can actually die from it. But it's very rare, and it has to be diagnosed, and you can deal with your doctor with respect to that. But aside from that, when you talk about things like sensitivities, and I'll use gluten sensitivity as an example, it's very, very easy to start to say, okay, I think I'm gluten sensitive, and then to start noticing, every time I eat gluten, because you start focusing, you eat gluten, and you start focusing, am I having any symptoms? And when you focus on them, they amplify. And lo and behold, yes, when I eat gluten, I have more symptoms. So it's very easy to create a self-fulfilling prophecy with any of these quote-unquote sensitivities to, I can't eat this, I shouldn't eat that. And in fact, it's the same dynamic with quote-unquote multiple sensitivities. Now, if you have that issue, please understand, I understand like how much it sucks and how much and you have all these symptoms, but the fact of the matter is studies have been done on people, and it's enough for people to believe like they will expose like people to actual chemicals and to quote-unquote fake chemicals that maybe smell the same or whatever. I don't remember all the details of the study, but when I read it, it was good. And it's enough for people, even if they're not exposed to the real chemical, it's enough for them to believe it. And I'm not saying, quote-unquote, it's all in your head. I know the symptoms are real, but that's the dynamic. That's what happens. And we're all susceptible to this. We're just human beings. It's not a moral weakness. I'm not looking at it that way. I'm just saying that's how it works, And it's very easy to get into that state. And with diet, it's the same thing. If you start being on the lookout, if you start thinking of a particular food as dangerous, that's going to feed into the very causes, the very dynamic that's creating the symptoms. So be very, very careful with that. I think the potential to do harm is greater than the potential to do good. No. Aside from like obvious things that you react to, things that like food allergies, basically. I'll tell you how I eat now. I'm saying this as someone who loves meat a lot. I have not gone vegan or vegetarian, but I have drastically cut down on the amount of meat I eat. I still eat meat, weekly, maybe a steak here, a burger there occasionally, but it's not a staple anymore for me. I eat fish, I eat grains, I eat vegetables, fruits, just regular stuff. I limit I eat very little processed food or junk food, but I do allow myself a frozen pizza occasionally or whatever I want, basically. I eat dark chocolate, 85% dark chocolate. There's nothing special about my diet. I was making progress on a different diet earlier. I switched to this because I think just for general health reason, I'm not going to say that everybody should eat this way or anything. I'm just telling you how I eat and why I eat this way. I think the way meat is produced, it's not great for the animals. It's not great for the people who work in the meat packing industry, in the meat production industry. And consuming a lot of meat is not great for our health. It does have detrimental effects. It looks like, as best as I can tell as a layman looking at the research, it's a huge debate. Like some of you might jump into the comments and say, no, actually meat, fat, blah, 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 saturated fat. It's a big argument. I don't think it's an argument that helps anybody. I just don't think it's important enough to worry about, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is how I eat. I'm happy with it. I'm doing well in terms of exercise and everything, and diet is not hampering my energy levels. So that's pretty much all I have to say on diet. These are my thoughts on diet. In conclusion, don't obsess about it. Just find a way that works for you. If you're off whatever you think your diet should be, it's not a big deal. Just gently bring yourself back to whatever it is. You don't need to worry about it too much. Just live your life. If you can control your weight, it's a good idea. That's the biggest thing with diet. Is the thing that increases the risk of everything is just gaining weight. Diabetes, heart disease, or all these things. If you can control your weight, but I know if you're overweight and pursuing two goals at once, the goal of recovery and the goal of weight loss can be hard, so you should probably prioritize one or the other. Probably better to recover from this thing first. That's how I'm going about it. And I had gained a lot of weight while I was bedbound and stuff, but now it's slowly coming down, and bit by bit, I think if you focus on the recovery and on the psychological aspect, you might already make some progress with the diet and weight loss, and you'll set yourself up for an easier time in the future when you can focus on it more. Yeah, that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. This is what I think. I'm quite certain that the lessons I learned, you'd be wise to heed those lessons. Peace.